Hi Neera, how are you doing?
Hi Praveen, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, Neera. So Neera, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very, positive that world is going to get a lot of things from you, from your experience, as you have, such a good experience. You have such a good technical background.
Thank you so much, Praveen. Likewise, and thank you for having me here. I'm also very excited to share the things that I know with your audience. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. So Neera, I don't have much things for today. So, all screen is yours.
So, hi everyone, this is Neera, and Praveen has given me a chance to speak on something on such a topic which is very important yet very much ignored by developers. So, it is naming conventions. Naming conventions in C Sharp, to be very specific, because we will be talking about C Sharp code conventions only. So, first things first, what is a naming convention? So, as the name suggests, naming convention is a standard or a practice that one should follow while naming anything in C sharp. Because I'm talking about C sharp, so I might use C sharp, many times. So, any code item, whether it is a class, structure, variable, field, should have a standard that one should follow while naming it. Now, the question that come into your mind, that why should I use naming convention? Why can't I, write my code without any convention? Or maybe you are a developer who is in development field from very long time and is not using the naming convention. So I will say, okay, if you're not using the naming convention, still your application will run, your programs will execute, you will not see any issue yourself. But maybe your your peer groups or your fellow developers who are working with you in your application might be facing some issues, might be they're not able to understand your code, might be they have to spend a lot of time to understand what you have written. So if you will use naming convention, your code will be much more readable, much more maintainable, and it will live longer. Because suppose you are working on an enterprise application which will stay with you for 2 or more years, and maybe for a couple of months, and you have written something today, and you come back to your code after 2 weeks. Sometimes it happens that you're not able to understand what you have written. But if you follow the naming convention, you name your classes, your structures, your variables properly, use proper casing and use proper names, then it will be much easier for you and for your fellow developers to understand what is written and what is the purpose of the code. You can also add comments, to make it more understandable. But yeah, let's focus on the naming conventions as of now. So, what are the different naming conventions that are available? So there are many naming conventions that are available, but in C Sharp we are widely using these three naming conventions, which are camelCase, Pascal and underscore prefix. Underscore prefix is nothing but camelCase with an underscore. So camelCase. So as you can see in my slide that I have made a camel. So camel is like, it starts with a smaller portion and then there is a hump. So similarly in camelCase, your first letter of the first word is small, and then the first letter of all the other words is capital. Like I have shown here one example also, that do something. So here you can see the first letter of do is small and the first letter of something is capital. Uh, so camelCase is used mostly while when you name your variables, fields, you use camelCase. But when you have to name your classes, your methods, you use Pascal case. Pascal case is almost similar. There's just one difference, that the first letter of first word is capital, and then first letter of every other word is also capital. Like I have shown here one example, do something. So this is an example of Pascal case. And then there is one last that I will talk about. These are the three most popular, being used by the developers all around the world. So in underscore prefix, what happens is that you put an underscore in front of a camelCase, and this is mostly used for private and internal variables. And the example I have shown here, just one underscore, and you have written a camelCase do something. So these are the most widely used naming conventions. There are many other conventions also, like you might have heard about snake case, but all these are not that much used. Mostly people are using these three naming conventions. Okay. Now there is one cheat sheet that I have created for you guys to cheat. Maybe you can take a screenshot of this particular slide and follow it while writing the code. So I have also created one small application, which is a sample application for you to understand how we write it in the code. So first we'll start from namespace. So namespace comes at the top of the application, and namespace should be in Pascal case. As you can see that even Microsoft uses this convention. The only thing is that you have to put a dot between the different sections of a namespace, and you have to use the Pascal case. As you can see, the S of the system is capital, D of the drawing is capital, which is a Pascal case, and you have a dot in between which joins the different parts of the namespace. So similarly in our application, which I have created just for giving you some experience that how will you write it in Visual Studio. So I have this application that shows the details of the employees. So you can see that this is my namespace, employee details dot models, because this is my model class. You can see the namespace like that only. Next is, so after the namespace, the next code element that you usually see in your code is a class. So for class also we should use Pascal case. Like I have written here employee. So mostly it is also a good practice that you name your class as a noun. It should, because it is a name of some object, something. So it should be a noun. It should not be a verb or an adjective. It should be a noun. Like employee is a noun. And I have created my class with the Pascal case, using Pascal case, and the name is employee. And this class of mine has couple of properties like employee ID, first name, last name, gender. So all these properties also using Pascal case. You can see in my cheat sheet that all the properties are using Pascal case. So coming back to our application, so namespace should be in Pascal case with some dots in between. Class name should be a Pascal case, and the properties name should also be a Pascal case. Now where to use camelCase? So we'll come back to one of our services that I have created for you to understand the different naming conventions. So here you can see. So all the private fields should be in camelCase. Actually, it should be an underscore prefix camelCase, which we had mentioned here, that this one underscore prefix and camelCase. So all the private fields like this one I have mentioned here should have underscore camelCase. So in our service, I'm using, this is one of my services where I'm calling some other service, and I have called the service in my service, and this is a private field and using underscore prefix with a camelCase. Underscore user service. The first letter is small and the corresponding first letters of the next words are capital. Next is our constant.
Neera, why we need to say underscore? Why can't we go without underscore?
As the name suggests, underscore. So the private field stays inside the class only. It stays under the class. So that's why this is a convention that we have used to keep it under the class. Although it will stay under the class only, but an underscore, by just looking at the underscore and seeing anywhere in the code, you will come to know that this is a private field which is going to stay inside my class because it's private.
Got you. So we have to just understand that word under, right? That word under. So when say underscore, yes, that means it is going to stay inside the class only. That is why we are saying this is under. It is not going to be used outside. Okay, got you.
Yes, you cannot use it outside of your class. That's why it is under.
Yeah, and that's why we're using after looking at this underscore, it looks like it is not complete. It looks like it is half only. Impression to the programmers that this is something that we should not call it outside.
Yes, right, exactly. So it will stay inside your class. That's why we are using underscore. It will stay under your class.
Okay, thank you, Neera.
So we have seen that we have seen in our application that namespace should use Pascal case. You have seen that in my application was using namespace with Pascal case class, so should also use Pascal case. And now coming to interface. Okay, let me show you in my example that how I have used interface, how I have named the interface. So you can see that employee service class is implementing an interface named employee service. So you can see the rest of the name is same as of class, employee service, like the first letter of every word is capital, but we have prefixed it with I. I stands for interface. And whenever you will see it in your code, you will come to know, okay, this is an interface that is being implemented. So you can see one more interface here in my example. I have used one another interface, I use the service in my class. So by just looking at this particular name, you can come to know that this is an interface. I stands for interface, and then followed by Pascal case convention. I have named this interface. And now constructor. So you can see here in my example that constructor is also should be in Pascal case, and we know that constructor name is same as of our class name. So this is our constructor with the Pascal naming convention with the same name as of class. And now coming to the methods. So methods should also be in Pascal case. First letter of every word in my methods is capital, like get employee details, calculate employee salary. Now the next is parameters. Our parameters should always be in camelCase. Like the first letter should be, the first letter of the first word should be small, and then the corresponding first letters should be in capital, like employee ID. So here you can see some of the parameters here, like employee ID I have used here. So this is using camelCase. So all the parameters, arguments should use camelCasing convention. Now the local variables should also be in camelCase. Suppose I'm doing some calculations inside my method. So I have this method. I want to do some calculations for my employee. Maybe I want to calculate his salary. So I will use a camelCase convention. Then I will use this particular variable inside my method. It will be limited to this method because I have declared it here inside. That's why it should be in camelCase. By just looking at this variable, you will come to know, okay, this is a local variable being used in this method, and you will not think to use it outside of the method. Now coming to the constants. So constants are they are declared in Pascal case, and the example of one of the constants is like number of holidays, because constant value will remain same throughout the life of the application. So number of holidays of the company will stay the same. Your leaves might vary, but the holidays that a company gives is same. So you can see I have one similar constant created in my application, number of holidays. Here I have given the value 12. So it will stay the same in your application, and it is using Pascal case, like the first letter of each word is capital.
Now this is interesting, Neera, right? Because if we look at the variables always start with I guess camel case, right? But
Yes,
this is also
right.
variable, but this is constant variable. But when it comes
Right.
to constant variable, it will go for Pascal case,
Exactly.
right? And the reason only is because Pascal case, when we say something Pascal case, it is always going to be used outside the class, right? And these constants are always being used for outside the class, and that is the main reason. Being variable, still it is going to be a Pascal case, and that is the main difference between normal variables and the constant variables.
Yes, Praveen, you have explained it very well. That the Pascal case things, you will see it outside the methods,
Yeah.
but the variables or the arguments which are named with camelCase, you will be able to see it inside a particular section, like the method, right? But the Pascal case things, as you have mentioned, like constants, which we will be able to use everywhere in the application, and even the global variables, they are
Right.
declared in Pascal case, because Pascal case are visible in mostly, like the things that are visible in the application are in Pascal case, but the things that stays inside a particular section, like this argument, this local variable, should be in camelCase. And there's one more thing that I wanted to show. It's for enum. So the enums should also use Pascal case, and mostly it is also a practice that your enum should be a single word, like gender, or maybe a city, state, country. If it is a single word, then it is very easy to understand, because obviously the enum is going to have certain values, and a single word is going to help you to use that enum in your application at multiple places. So this is the enum which we will use at multiple places, and it is also in Pascal, as you had mentioned, Praveen. And I have used it in my
And for the same reason,
employee
right?
class
For the
as
same reason,
as a
Neera,
property.
because it is going to be used outside. That is why those are Pascal cases.
Right, exactly. So yeah, so these were the, these are the basic code elements or the basic objects that we create in any application. There are many other things also, like that we can, we can have in our code. And but yeah, you should keep in mind this thing, that the global things are mostly in Pascal case, and the local things, like the things or the code elements that are, specific to a particular section, are in camelCase.
Right.
And the private methods, sorry, the private variables, the internal variables, they are in underscore prefix with underscore camelCase.
So we can summarize everything which is going to be used outside of your class. That would be a Pascal case, right? Whether it's enum or interface or class, right?
Structure,
Anything,
class, namespace.
yeah, anything with the scope is very limited within this class, that would be camel case. Now if it's something private, that would be underscore camel case. And if it is something within method, or that could be used outside, or doesn't matter, that would be your camel case, complete camel case.
Yes.
Okay.
So thank you guys. That was all for our today's video. We have talked about the naming conventions in C#, and I hope to see you all soon if Praveen invites me again on any of his next videos. Yeah, till then, please take care. Yeah, and please don't forget to subscribe and like the video. See you all. Bye everyone.